Have you ever considered how rent caps might affect the housing market? This question may seem quite simple, but the truth is, it's a lot more complex than it appears. Rent caps, or laws that limit how much landlords can charge for rent, are often seen as a panacea for the issue of housing affordability. They're designed to take the sting out of rising rent costs, making it easier for everyone to find a place they can call home without breaking the bank. But as with most things in life, the reality is not quite as rosy as it might seem. There are several reasons why rent caps might not be the cure-all for affordable housing that they're often painted as, from dissuading landlords to maintain their properties, to reducing the quality of available housing, and even legal and constitutional issues. The path of rent caps is laden with potential pitfalls. The issue of rent caps is not as straightforward as it might seem. Opening. One argument against rent caps is that they could disincentivize landlords. Imagine being a landlord with a property that you're renting out. You've invested a sizable amount in this property, and naturally you want to see a return on that investment. But then, a rent cap is introduced. Suddenly, your potential income from this property is limited. You might start to wonder, is it worth it to keep investing in this property's upkeep? Or should you just convert it to a different use, where the returns might be higher? This is a real scenario that many landlords could face in the face of rent caps. The disincentive for landlords can lead to several knock-on effects. For instance, they might choose not to maintain their rental properties to the same standards they would have if the rent caps weren't in place. Why put money into a property when you can't increase the rent to cover those costs? This, in turn, can lead to a decrease in the overall quality of housing. As rents increase, tenants looking for affordable places to live tend to be less choosy, signing leases on second-rate rentals they would have passed up in more normal times. This could result in a market saturated with poorly maintained properties, with tenants having no choice but to live in subpar conditions. Rent caps can also pose legal and constitutional issues. For example, Germany's constitutional court ruled that the Berlin state government had no right to impose a rent cap in the German capital. The court ruled that since the federal government had already made a law regulating rents, a state government could not impose its own law that infringed upon that. So, while rent caps might seem like a great idea on the surface, they can have unintended consequences. They can disincentivize landlords, decrease the quality of available housing, and even pose legal and constitutional challenges. Closing. Rent caps could potentially lead to a reduction in the quality and quantity of available housing. A rent cap could potentially impact the supply of housing. This is due to the fact that a cap on rent could stand to wipe a significant amount from social landlords' budgets in the coming year. With less revenue coming in, decisions around staffing costs, investment in existing properties, and funding for new homes may be affected. The ripple effect of these budgetary constraints could lead to a decrease in the supply of available housing. This is a crucial point to consider, especially when weighing the advantages and drawbacks of rent caps. While they can provide short-term relief for tenants struggling with soaring rents, they may not be a panacea for the underlying issues plaguing the housing market. Remember, a thriving housing market needs a balanced ecosystem. Addressing affordability issues is not just about capping rents, but also about increasing the supply of affordable homes. In the long term, only a sufficient supply of housing can secure affordable rents.